BJ Sunday mornings. Okay. So yeah, the camera angle had to change. But hey, so welcome back to BJ Sunday mornings. This is my name's Jeff. This is my buddy Boz.
Hey, how's it going?
Boz. Click on here, just get a solo look at you. That's Boz. This is Jeff. So Boz, Jeff, BJ, and it's Sunday morning. So welcome to the show, man. Okay, so picking up where we left off, we're recapping, and what we're talking about is a campaign that Boz has been involved in for a long time, and it's a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. What we know right now is that there's a group of 5 characters that have just embarked on a journey to an island of unknown. These 5 characters are probably, arguably, all virgins in real life, and even though everybody's somewhere near 50, or at least the people we know personally are at or near or above 50, and it's okay though, because sex isn't everything. Yeah.
Well, that's what I've been told anyway.
Right. That's why you've been holding out for 50 years. So back to the...
Again, how's that Bob Ross painting going?
It's going really good.
All right, I'm gonna loop back around to that. Have you seen Bob Ross's hair?
He's an American treasure.
Exactly.
Okay, let me ask you this question then. So with Bob Ross, are you suggesting that the same level of virginityhood would exist with Bob Ross fans as it does with fans of Dungeons and Dragons?
If you were that focused on painting landscapes and adding little pretty trees and some
happy little clouds,
it's a good possibility.
I think that's fair. Okay.
So, hey, I'm just trying to break the stereotype here. All right,
I get it, man. And so we both are. We're both trying to bring a whole new world of.
Now that being said, this first image that we're going to put up here to show really brings it back the other direction.
Yeah, that actually the whole content of the show brings it back to stereotype. But we're going to do it in such a genteel way that by the time this is done, this will become a very popular game that will last decades.
Yes.
Because they said it wouldn't last.
It's just a fad.
How long's Dungeons and Dragons been around? Since the 70s?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Late 60s, early 70s. Gary Gygax was the originator of the Dungeons and Dragons genre, if you will. So, he and some folks, were playing these role-playing games, and he's like, you kind of need a standard set of rules, and then kind of this delving into this world of imagination and using your mind to kind of create these worlds and kind of carry things through. And it's something that I think a lot of people have participated in over the years. Maybe not to the level that I guess we have recaptured here in our middle years, I suppose, but it's something that was fun. And I think when kids were playing it in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s, but definitely in the 80s, it had a very negative connotation for a lot of people, which is always odd to me. But I think a lot of people played it just because they wanted to be on that sort of side of teenage angst. Like, well, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, and it has a sort of different feel for it.
It seems like there was also an era where the dragons and swords,
yes,
which like Game of Thrones brought that right back into huge popularity. But even Viking sagas and stuff like that were a little cliche and cheesy during that time.
Sure, but not like the Norsemen. Man, that's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's a good show. That's a funny show, man. But yeah, so I could see where back in the 70s it met some resistance because at that time everything was new agey. Like, man, we want to see stuff about spaceships and lasers and things like that. So going back to an archaic form of clubs and hammers and
swords and all that
sorcery, it just seemed a little bit.
Yeah, but there's a lot of theater of the mind that goes on, because there's not really a table that you play with, but I mean, you can draw things out, and a lot of people did that, early on, and now of course it's all digital, right? You can do all kinds of amazing things. So it's fun either way. And what it is, it just, it's a break from, it's a time out from your daily life and the things that go on. And it's a little.
What I've always known about the little bit of experience I've had with role games like that, is that it takes is a little bit of direction and and a ton of imagination, which is really awesome. And that I find that the people I know that play that like role playing games have great senses of humor.
Yes.
And not only can they laugh about other things, they can laugh at themselves a little bit. Like I don't think there's a serious like a D&D player that doesn't feel a little bit of a geek.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But
it's fun. Yeah, absolutely. It's
get in
fun.
touch with your geekdom.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we affectionately refer to our Saturday time, or at least I do around my house, is Dorkfest, right? Saturday Dorkfest, right? And the kids laugh a little bit, and my wife rolls her eyes, and it's like, yeah, no doubt, But it's something that's fun to do, and it engages time in I think a creative way.
It's constructive.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
harmless.
Yeah.
Although I do worry about, I'm not 100% on this, but I believe the word dork was
it was a negative, yes. Reference to a, thing of sorts.
What are you referring to?
Dork. I mean, it was
the dork.
Yeah, the dork. Are you a dork?
No, I'm
you
not.
Are?
No, I mean, I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Spell it out for me.
DORK.
Oh, that's very different than what I was thinking.
How's your dork? Just kidding. I'd heard years ago, and I never did vet this, so I don't know if this.
Apologies, because this is how this weirdness kind of goes. Just so you're aware,
I never did vet this, so I heard that dork was in the early days of the English Navy, the British Navy. The dork was referred to as a whale's penis.
Okay, yeah, we were going down similar lines there. Yes, yeah, I wasn't sure of that anthology or that what's the term? Etymology?
Yeah.
Etymology?
Yeah,
whatever.
definition.
That definition. But I know it had some reference to the penis or genitalia of some sort.
My question being, when you're feasting on dork during Dork Fest. Oh, it's Dork Fest, not Dork Feast. Never mind.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
festival. So that makes it even better. It's a festival of the dork.
Just a bunch of dorks hanging out on a Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
Bunch of whales, dorks. Okay, so we're getting back to the campaign here, and let's just do a quick run over of our characters, Bozer.
Yeah.
First of all, we have Belky, and Belky is from Mipos. Is that how you say it? Mipos or Mipas?
Mipos.
Mipos. Is that a real town?
No.
Mipos.
There was a TV show. I don't know.
Let's get a little picture of Belky up here.
Yeah,
let's do that.
That's
There's Belky. Belky, as you can see, he's otter folk. Mm-hmm. The otter folk they're kind of a hybrid because they're not only otter, they have a extremely efficient tail, and they can speak English.
Well, in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, it's referred to as common, the common language, which would be English. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they can speak a variety of other languages, but they have different intelligences. And again, a lot of these different creatures, are that, of course, human personified, right? So you give these sort of human traits to these different, which we would typically not see talking and wandering about in clothing, but like the otter folk. Or, of course, a lot of this lore, I think, in some ways was derived from J.R.R. Tolkien's story of the Hobbit, right?
Right.
So the halflings and hobbits and stuff like that. And so I think when Gygax probably started his development, he probably pulled a little bit from there.
What's Belky bringing to the table? Because just taking a quick look at him, he doesn't appear to be a badass.
However, appearances can be deceiving.
Okay.
His character probably is as effective as any. He tends to work with ranged weapons like bows and arrows and stuff like that.
Is that a flute that he's carrying?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
So he'll kind of hang back and shoot the arrows, and he scores a lot of good hits and damage, and does a good job there.
But not physically imposing, Belky.
Well, he's an otter.
He's an otter folk.
Yeah. Okay. So I think he's got to roll really high on his intimidation score to maybe intimidate anybody. So
Is Belky intelligent? He looks smart. Otters seem to be smart. They're efficient,
absolutely.
Great workers.
Yeah. Dexterity. He's very dexterous.
So, they are dexterity.
Dexterous.
Yeah.
They have a lot of dexterity.
They got a lot of that ability to move. So let's take a look, move over to Oliver Butts, which we're going to go ahead and give a reveal. That is Oliver
character.
Boots, but in the common language, it's referred to as Oliver Butts, which kind of sounds like all of her butts.
I hadn't thought about that.
I know. I don't. This just doesn't seem like something you would have thought.
No, wasn't really in the plan. But yeah, I suppose you could go that
Obviously, it's something you thought of. Okay, so
now
Oliver,
I know why they said, "Hey, you should play the." You know what your name should be? You should be Oliver Butts. Yeah.
was pretty good.
IP Daily. You know.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah.
And Oliver is a human.
Yep.
And that's Oliver's race. And then
His class, his rogue,
and Belky from Meepos
is a ranger.
He is a ranger, but his race is Otterfolk.
Correct.
Okay, I like that they call it race. One of my favorite Nike commercials, man, we're all in one race. It's the human race.
Yes, exactly.
Because I do like that unity thing, but I do like it because if there's aliens amongst us, like if the Greys are living with us, they're not of our race, man. And
what do you mean if they are?
Right. Yeah, that explains a lot about the last 6 years.
Don't forget about the lizard people.
Okay, let's not ruin the show. Okay, how about Twill? Well, now Twill's a barbarian folk, and
she's a barbarian. Her class is barbarian.
Yep, her class is barbarian,
right,
and her race is goblin.
Correct. Yeah. So this is kind of a look at what the goblin race characters kind of look like, and this would be kind of what she would be as a barbarian kind of character.
Yeah.
But her picture that she is using in the game is this. A little less imposing, but nonetheless.
Oh, she's a cute goblin.
Yeah, absolutely. Dangerous as hell, though.
That's the thing with cute goblins, man. You want to trust them, but you can't.
Not always.
But I bet you she's a badass.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
Goblins are good fighters.
Yes, and she is. Yeah, she's a barbarian. She gets a little crazy. She goes into this wild rage, and just starts just doing crazy stuff. And things just fall and die.
Yeah,
havoc is created all over the place.
Yeah, goblins. Yeah, that's all. And then we have Makad Conundrum. I'm going to say it's Makad Conundrum because it looks like a conundrum.
So this is what Makud is using as his character icon picture or in his character sheet. But he's a Dragonborn, and this is what the Dragonborn race kind of looks like.
Dude, I would definitely be a Dragonborn. A dragon is my spirit animal. I'm sure of it.
I would not disagree at all.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. That's a cool looking.
I think one of the things that's so if you're not familiar with any of the books that outline the worlds and the rules of Dungeons and Dragons, some of the cool stuff is the artwork is just really cool.
It's always been cool, even like the old books back in the day and stuff. The artwork in there has always been really cool, and the imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like one of the things we miss now with all the digital music and stuff like that is the artwork that you used to get.
Yes, the album art.
Yes, it reminds me a lot of that, right? So you see some of this artwork like this. Somebody took some serious time to draw that stuff, right? It's pretty sweet. But some of the album artwork was just amazing.
I agree.
And we don't have that as much, So you could do it in digital. You'll see a little icon, your little picture, little thumbnail up there, but it's just not quite the same as holding that album jacket, and you're like, that is really sweet,
And I used to smell it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that. So like if you're reading a book or something like that, or like when you get that copy paper, like you take a test, you smell it or whatever, and so Melissa is teaching Will, she's a teacher, and so she'll get a book out and she'll smell the book, and Will's like, why do you always smell books?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am failing as a parent because he's not understanding why, because it's kind of a neat thing. You just like smell the ink on there and the age of the book or whatever. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There was that sort of component to it.
And then when you get to like a leather-bound book.
Oh yeah.
They smell amazing.
Yeah, they do. You're like, it smells like knowledge. Knowledge is power, by the way.
It is power. Okay, and then we have Nayrot.
Yes.
Nayrot. That's me slowing it down, but I think that's Nayrot. Yeah. And Nayrot is Eldrin, So it's an elf-like character. We'll bring that one up.
Yeah, so this is what her druid character sheet picture looks like, and I don't know.
Now, is she a druid or is she?
She's a druid, yes.
I thought she was a Eldrin.
Well, Eldrin is the race. Druid is the class.
Okay, I got you.
And I don't really have a. Did I send that one over? I don't know that I.
I don't think we did. Yeah, I don't think you did.
Yeah, let me see. I'll do it real quick because I have it here.
And so, just while you're digging that up, I'm going to just kind of recap where we left off on episode 1. So Belky, Oliver, Twill, Makad, and Newarat, they all met up in a tavern in this fictitious town. Of course, it's pretty well all fictitious, right, Boz? I don't have to qualify it.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but whatever.
And what was the town name?
Shoelist. Thulist.
Yeah,
Thulist.
with the silent S.
Silent S. The S is silent.
We've got to bring it. I got to make a graphic on that so we can just get the spelling. And then they broke up a little bit of a tussle going on there. They kind of collected their, they became unified during a bar fight. Basically, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna recap it in real terms. They broke up a bar fight. They became friends, and then they're hanging out. They need some money. They need an adventure, and they go down to this lady's place named not Adeline. It was
Adelaide,
and she proposes an adventure for them. She's looking for a certain flower that she needs to make. We're assuming probably potions, or it's got some magic qualities.
Yes, yeah,
and she said that she'd be able to reward the group with some money and maybe some favors, and if they were able just to kind of bring this flower back from, but the last time she's seen this flower, and that was on an island.
Yes.
And I just want to recap that this campaign is called the Isle of Doom. Now, the island that we're going to, we're not really sure, but if we're going to take this campaign or this challenge, and it's not called the Isle of Doom. It's called the Isle of Everything But Doom. So there's no reason to believe there's doom there. And unfortunately, as you're boarding the ship that you've rented to get over to the island, the captain and the crew are indicating that this may not be an ideal place to go.
Yeah, they're like, okay, are you crazy? No one goes to the Isle of. I mean, what do you guys call it? Yeah. All right, it's going to cost you a little bit, but yes, that's what we're doing. We're heading to an island.
Just a real quick look at the Eldrin. Yes. So they are very elf-like. Yeah. The Eldrin variant. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a COVID variant. Okay. So the Eldrin variant, and that's Newarat.
Yes. Yeah.
So and she. So we also know that elves are excellent fighters. They're great archers. Mm-hmm. They're fast. They're nimble.
Smart,
very agile,
smart, very intelligent. Yep.
Yeah, maybe one of the supreme beings in that realm.
Sure. Yeah. They have a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody's after a pair of elven boots and stuff like
right.
that. I mean,
it's got all these
I don't know. They just don't get along well with dwarves, though, for some reason.
Dwarves are grumpy.
They are grumpy.
Okay, so we're picked up right there. So you're arriving at the Isle of Doom, but we don't know it's the Isle of Doom yet.
No, so we're on our way, across the harbor or the ocean a little bit, and then somewhere along the way, as we approach the island, we're attacked by some creatures that kind of come out of the water, start taking things over, and attacking the ship captain and the ship folk, and a battle ensues, and we are able to repel boarders. A lot of loss, by the captain. Basically, he's like, all right, you know what? You guys are on your own. We get off the island. He heads back out, and there we are. So he's not real happy about it. It's going to cost us probably a little bit more because we just, killed off all of his crew and maybe even him too.
But didn't you save his ship as well? I mean, it's not like you brought the sea creatures on. It was
we did, but that's we didn't have to go there. He took it on. So it's a weird kind of a distressful situation. We're like, hey. We paid you. You were more aware of it than we were. You knew the risk. So anyway, he took off, left us. There's another boat floating about there, and we have kind of a running joke along the adventure is, you know what? maybe we should just go back to the boat.
It
right?
seems a little bit like Brian Boz with math. Like, I borrowed $5 from you, so you owe me 10.
Or 20.
Right. Or
Yes.
20. Yeah, it's never going to be an even amount. It'd be
No.
12. Like, yeah, you gave me $5. That's why you owe me 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it works, right? So we got attacked on the way over there, which kind of highlights the fact that maybe this is not the place that we really want to go, but it also piques our interest because like, oh, all right, we're getting into it now, right?
Right.
This is that shit got real kind of moment, right? Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the captain was pissed. He's just like, hey, you know what? It's going to cost you a little bit more because that's how it goes.
Right.
Maybe some hazard.
Well, and
pay
you're
or
kind of
whatever,
at his
so.
mercy anyway at that
Oh,
point.
sure.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we needed to get off, and,
Yeah.
and again, a lot of things, kind of it went on along with that part of the adventure. But either way, we get to the island more or less unscathed, we take a long rest, we get healed up, and now we kind of start searching this island. And the island itself is kind of, what you would expect from like a kind of a tropical island. It's got some, lots of trees, sandy beaches, some sort of rock and escarpments along the way, so you can climb up here. Creatures of all sorts, roaming about. Some good, some bad.
Is it a busy island?
No, not necessarily, right? It's there are probably other folks there that we don't really know about. Maybe they're adventuring somewhere else on the island, but we're not really there for that, right? And we will bump into people along the way. But right now we're trying to figure out which way to go, and we're trying to pick up some clues. And as we start searching this island for whatever this flora we can find. We're looking for that particular flower, which doesn't look too dissimilar to the ones you have hanging over here in your studio. But
that's funny because in my mind, the flower you guys are after is pot.
No. Well, maybe.
That's in my mind. That's when you said flower. That's what I thought of. I thought,
Well, I mean, I respect that.
big old ganja plant.
I have a picture of the flower.
Because she wants to blaze up. That's the thing.
Well, and again,
About
we
Adelaide.
don't really know much about the flower at this point, right? So it's possible.
We don't know anything about this flower. We just know that Adelaide needs Mama needs a little bit of happy
Yeah,
something.
she needs a little something, right?
Yeah.
So I will search that out. We'll add that in maybe the next episode. I got
Okay.
a picture of the flower as we
Yeah,
go.
we'll do that. We'll put that in 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so we get to the island. We start working our way through. And as a party, we kind of decide, all right, let's talk about how we're gonna approach this. We want to have some order to it and try to develop what we call a marching order, right? So who's gonna go first and take the heat, and who's going to support us from the backside, right? So we'll usually put Laura, which is our barbarian, Twill up front, right?
Yeah.
Because she's got the highest hit points, and usually she can take the most damage, and she's our barbarian, right? And we affectionately refer to her as our meat shield.
Yeah, I guess that's okay in that realm.
Where'd you go first?
It just sounds so bad.
Well,
But the meat shield goes right, and she does not look like a meat shield. She looks, cute, but we know she's a badass. So.
she is, right?
Yeah.
So she'll go first. We have our ranged weapon guys like Balky in the back. We're prepared, and they're stealthy guys, kind of, sneaking through the woods to try and, hide from any creatures and kind of pick up some signal or sign along the way. The rangers kind of helping us find our way through the, because of some natural abilities, that the rangers have because they study this kind of stuff. We won't get lost necessarily. So
Right.
as we work our way through this jungle,
And you
environment-
won't get flanked either.
well, we shouldn't, right? Yeah. Exactly, right. We have our sorcerer and our druid, and kind of bringing up the rear there, prepared to protect us from the rear, right? With some ranged weapons or some ranged magic or some stuff that can get distance. Where the meat shield is up front doing her thing, and battling right up front and taking it on, head on really. So we work our way through, and then we find this this area where we find what a ziggurat, right? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term, but imagine a sort of a Mayan pyramid, right? So it's got these levels that go up.
Oh yeah,
and that's a ziggurat, right? So we see this and we're like, well, now that's interesting. What should we do now? So we kind of explore around the area a little bit, and then kind of say, well, maybe this is where we might find the flower. There's a little bit of discussion amongst the party, like, okay, are we going to find a flower in there, or maybe we should stick to the jungle? But the party can't resist exploring this place, right? I mean, it's
this temple.
It's a freaking pyramid temple thing, right?
Right.
And on top, there's images, statues of these 3 different beings, different gods and stuff like that. Or same God, just different aspects of that particular God. And so we're like, okay, well, let's go check it out. So we get in and we start kind of, at this upper level. There's like 2 levels here, and we get in and we kind of go up. There's like a bell tower kind of thing, or these different statues, and they're used for different ceremonies of some sort. And so we realize, okay, this is cool, but there's not much going on here. And then we start working our way down, and as we go down, we encounter some things like skeletons, right? The undead, those who have died but are not dead. So we get into a battle with some of these skeletons, and we end up being very successful against them. Find some loot along the way, some gold and some gems, maybe some magic items of other sorts. But right now we're still low level, so we're not really getting a whole lot of cool stuff yet.
During the battles at this point, is this where you're rolling? You roll dice to see how you're doing?
Well, you'll roll dice along the way for all kinds of different things, right?
Right.
So let's say we go in to this area and we're trying to figure out, well, I wonder what that image is about, right? So the DM will say, all right, give me a perception, or give me an investigation, or give me a history check, or whatever, right? So then you'll roll your dice, all right? And then when you roll that, in this case, it's usually a D20, which is a 20-sided die. And based on your roll...
Does the D stand for...
Dice.
It's clever.
Yeah. 4D20, 2D10, 1D8.
Wait, is that 4 dice 20?
Mm-hmm. 4 of the 20-sided die.
You got to roll 4 of those?
Sometimes, right? It just depends on what you're rolling. It can be a D4. Right. It'll just give you these charts will give you different ideas of how many you have to roll for different things. For damage, at a low level, your damage might be from a certain weapon, like a short sword is like a 1d6 damage, right? So you would roll when you attack somebody with a sword to determine how much damage you did to that creature.
Gotcha.
You roll that particular die. Now, if that's a +2 sword, you'd go 1d6 +2. Your strength modifier based on when you create your character, you roll these dice to kind of determine how much strength you have, how much charisma you have, how much intelligence you have, and based on those scores,
we can kind of see that too on your overview on if you go to Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver.
There we go.
Oliver Boots.
So right here, these are his scores, right?
Yeah.
So when he originally rolled this character, when I rolled this character up to decide what I was going to be, I had a high score, which this is modified because of growth over time, but it was like a 17 or an 18. It was a 17 actually. So you get modifiers based on your character and the type of things. So my dexterity is a 20. That's as high as you can really go.
That's like elven dexterity.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a very, very dexterous, and then he's got an additional +5 because of his high dexterity, and some of that +5 modifies your armor class, which is how well you can take a hit. His strength is kind of above average, but it's okay. So a 13. Constitution is 14. Constitution kind of derives how much damage you can take, how many hit points you can get, how well you can withstand whatever it happens to be, either fatigue or magic attacks or whatever. Charisma, of course, is how well people perceive you, how charming you are, how well you can charm other people. Wisdom, goes to things like arcana or history or these kinds of, things like how much knowledge you might have about a particular thing, right? So we would do a wisdom check, or we would do an intelligence check. You can see Oliver's not real bright.
I see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
what I notice is that he's not unlike you. He's strong. Mm-hmm. He has he's got integrity. Mm-hmm. He's very dexterous. He's fast. He's got a great constitution.
Yeah.
He's also very wise.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to intelligence, he's not the sharpest knife in the shed. Okay, so back to the campaign.
Yeah, so we're in this ziggurat. So we're like, hey, I wonder what that statue is all about. So the DM will say, all right, well, give me a history check, right, or an arcana check, or whatever. So you roll a die, and then based on that roll, he will provide us information. If we roll really high, he'll provide the a little bit more information because, all right, you've seen this before. Maybe you have a little bit of understanding of the history of these type of structures or this particular. Religion, or you do a religion check. That's another option as well. So you can do all these kinds of things, and to get information, you may run into a different non-player character. There may be some writing on the wall. In this particular case, there was these tapestries that kind of told a story as we went through this. Right, you would see these different tapestries about what had happened in this world before. There's a little bit of anthropology going on here, right?
Right.
So we're trying to figure out, well, what the hell is this place, right? Well, all of a sudden, we encounter these creatures, these undead creatures, these skeletons. Well, okay, so now we're starting to think, okay, there's something a little bit amiss here, right? There's these undead creatures living here. Well, now our interest is piqued even more, so we start to delve a little bit deeper. So now we start to work our way down because we've already gone to the top, and we can see at the very top these ornate statues were probably designed to call people in from the outlying villages and jungle and stuff to either worship here or to participate in different rituals. So we kind of figured out what that was all about. Not much to be seen there, but we kind of take note of the different the different deities that this is kind of portraying. So if we see them later on, we'll remember and we can talk about them as we move forward through the adventure. So we then go to another level down. And on that level, we find some more interesting tapestries and some more interesting loot. And then we find some more undead creatures that we have to battle along the way. And so what happens is we kind of work our way through. So now at this point, we want to have our meat shield up there, our barbarian to kind of, battle away. But we also need to use some stealth, and try to figure out if there's any traps along the way. Because that's one of the hazards in going through these things. And in that regard, think about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, right? Mm-hmm. They're going in there to get that statue of that golden monkey, and there's these traps along the way. So we have characters like the rogue, who is adept at finding traps and disarming traps and investigating areas to help prevent that kind of thing from happening. So it's always kind of a decision, like, okay, do we send in the rogue to kind of disarm or see if there's any traps and risk that, or do we send in the barbarian to kind of stand up and take the heat as a
muscle your way through,
your way through, right? So there's all kinds of stuff. So we have to think about that as we work our way through the adventure. The DM has got the story kind of pre-built, and he knows kind of what the encounters are going to look like, but every now and then we just kind of screw that up and do something completely different than what he had anticipated us doing.
Right. He thinks you're going to choose this, and you go.
Yeah. He's
left.
Like, why did you guys choose option C? I only had A and B prepared.
Right.
So, but that's all right. He rolls with it, and he'll give us the opportunity to do some other things. And then of course, he's very creative, and so he's got a lot of things that he can do. But anyway, so that's part of the thought process that we go through there. And as we work your way through, we have a plan, and then we try to execute that plan as effectively as we can. But as we know, every plan that you ever made is out the window in the first couple minutes of the adventure, right? The encounter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
So right now we're second level of this dungeon. Well, we call it a dungeon, but it's this pyramid, and we're working our way down to deeper and darker secrets within this sort of cavernous ziggurat.
In search of this flower, this magic flower.
This magic flower.
All right. But I tell you what, we'll pick that up in episode 3.
Sounds
This
good.
is BJ Sunday Mornings with Boz and Jeff.
Right on.
That's cool, man. That's fun.